Welcome back. Today I want to talk about something that I am actually really passionate about, and that is getting deals on designer clothing. It is outrageous that designer brands want to charge hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for seemingly simple garments, but thankfully there are a few easy ways to get around this. Catwalks and runway shows are some of the coolest, but also some of the most elitist parts of the fashion industry. Owning and wearing something off a runway is a dream, but it's also seemingly unattainable for just about everyone. But today I want to try to convince y'all that that is not necessarily the case. I want to preface this by saying I spend way too much of my disposable income on clothing, but if you are as passionate about fashion and clothes as I am, I think this will still be like super helpful for you. So let's get right into it. The number one tip is obviously to shop secondhand. You're probably not going to be able to find really good designer deals new unless you get extremely lucky. The luckiest I've ever gotten is shopping at Nordstrom Rack, going deep into the clearance aisle and trying to find things that are 80+% off, because they actually usually mark what percentage off the retail price the item is, which is obviously insane. And also it's really easy sometimes to find things that were mislabeled. For instance, I have these. For instance, one of the best deals I found at a Nordstrom Rack are these Mason Margiela fall 2018 menswear like khaki pants. And it was an absolute steal. I found these for I think like $38. That is unheard of, really. If you know the price of clothing before you enter a store, you might be able to find those kinds of like insane deals. But for the most part, I would say shop secondhand. All of the clothing I've bought in the past year has been secondhand, and there's just like so many reasons for that. It is like environmentally way better, it is way cheaper, and honestly, you're gonna find so many more gems going through secondhand clothing than you will through new clothing. The second point I want to make is I'm not sure if I'm actually attracting any male viewers to this channel, but if I am and you're watching this and you're like, I really want to get some runway clothes, or if you're just like, I don't know, any other person, it doesn't really matter. Just get rid of your concept of gendered clothes. I've talked about this before. Please watch, maybe I'll put it here or here, my video on why everyone should wear women's pants. But it's not just women's pants, pants. It's clothing in general. I really think gendered clothes are just like an absolute myth. Obviously there are, cuts and shapes of clothing that are better suited towards men or women, but at the end of the day, if something fits you and it looks good on you, then who cares? Like, it looks good on you. So of the stuff I have back here, of the clothing I own, of the new clothing I buy, I'd say over half of it is actually women's clothing. I love women's pants. It's like one of my absolute favorite things. For example, here I have a pair of Roberto Cavalli, I think fall 2016 pants. And these are a pair of Valentino spring 2015 pants that are also women's and like lacy and just like so interesting. On top of that, there are just like more women's runway shows and clothing available in the secondhand market than there are men's. Usually there's only 2 menswear shows per year, the fall and the spring, but for women, there are resort collections, cruise collections, pre-fall collections, fall collections, spring collections, summer collections. I don't know, there's a bunch of collections, and many clothing brands, such as like Chanel or Chloe, don't even make men's collections. It's only women's clothing. So at the end of the day, there's just like far more to choose from women's clothing, and if you can find things that fit you, like I've said, and they look good, no one cares. It's way more interesting than what you can find just looking at men's clothing or just looking at women's clothing. Now you may be asking, thanks, Elliot. Where do I find these great deals? Well, I'm glad you asked. So my number one source would probably be The RealReal. The RealReal has way too much clothing on their website, and they don't have enough people who know how to properly price it. So there's so many deals, it is unbelievable. Also, as everyone knows, if you sign up, you get like a $25 site credit, and they consistently send out like $30 site credits. There's tons of stuff where if you spend a certain amount of money, they'll also give you more site credit. So you can use those credits to just like get way better deals on a lot of clothing. Some of my favorite clothing that I own has come from The RealReal, such as this Viktor and Rolf, I think fall 2001 blazer. It is mohair. It is really interesting. It's cropped as well. It has a beautiful silk lining. Super interesting, and I got it for $23 after I used one of those credits. So, I mean, just unbelievable, and I can promise you that this probably cost over $1,000 or $2,000 when it was new. Now, if you want to move off of the RealReal, then go to eBay. eBay is obviously a huge source of online secondhand items in general, so there's bound to be a lot of diamonds in the rough. I've bought so many things on eBay, it is unbelievable. It is definitely one of the best places to find those diamonds in the rough, because most people don't really know what they have on their hands sometimes. If you know the designer and you know what you want, you're probably going to be able to find some really good deals, especially for some older stuff. So for example, this is a pair of Celine, I want to say 2001 actual press sample. You can tell from the look that it was on, that someone had on eBay. These are some suede chocolate brown pants, and I want to say I found these for $45. And I can promise you in department stores off the runway, these probably cost over $1,000. When it comes to older designer clothing, or things missing tags or with bad pictures, sometimes you can often ask eBay sellers for better measurements, better pictures, and they might privately send them to you or just add them to the listing. And if you are able to tell from that the item you think is actually more valuable than even what they're listing at, you're probably going to find a great deal. Here is a 2003 Alexander McQueen 100% cashmere jacket. It is beautifully constructed, completely lined, has really, really interesting stitching and patterns everywhere. And I was able to find this on eBay after talking with a seller for just a few minutes. This lady was super nice, and I was able to get it for about $100. And I know for a fact that Alexander McQueen in the early 2000s, jackets like this, especially out of 100% cashmere, you could probably not find this for less than $1,000 or $2,000 as well. Some other sources that are great are Poshmark as well, because you can contact sellers, and places like ThreadUp and other like online secondhand shops will definitely help. Obviously, we're in a pandemic right now, so shopping in person is not necessarily the easiest or the safest thing to do, but if you are able to hit up thrift stores, definitely go to ones in the richer areas because they definitely have the nicer clothing. So on top of that, my fourth tip is learning how to negotiate and learning how to like spot those diamonds in the rough, those deals. Negotiating is definitely a little bit of an art, especially online, but I think you want to be respectful but also understand like what your own limits are. So if you're going into a deal or you're going into a purchase, you have to tell yourself what's the maximum you're willing to spend, what is the item listed at, and after being in communication with the seller, if this is someone that you actually want to buy from. So a lot of the times what I'll do is I like finding things on eBay that are buy now or best offer, and I'll usually offer around, 65-70% of the listed price. And if the seller thinks it's a little bit too low, you can always communicate with them in messaging, etc., and just figure out exactly, what they are willing to sell it for. But beyond that, developing relationships with sellers is also something that is really, really helpful for these things. If you have close communication with the seller, they're probably going to be more likely to give you a better deal, especially if you're continually returning to them as a customer. With that communication, you also should always be making sure that everything you buy is going to work for you. So if the measurements aren't specifically listed, or if you think there's something a little bit wrong with the measurements, always be asking, make sure that those things are confirmed. Obviously, as we all know, sizing means absolutely nothing. A size 2, a size 6, and a size 10 can fit the same person from different brands. Always feel free to ask for more pictures to guarantee yourself authenticity of items and to find out more about the clothing itself. Something I do a lot is I ask for extra pictures of the fabric tag. A fabric tag tells you a shockingly large amount about an item. Not only, of course, its composition and how to take care of it, but also you'll usually find, especially with more contemporary clothing, the exact year it's from, and that can help you identify the collection it's from, which to you might make it more valuable because it's really, really exciting when you can like historically place a garment. So I've often bought clothing and not really like known until I checked afterwards that what I owned was a designer item. For example, this shirt right here is Bottega Veneta. I bought it for, I want to say $30 on eBay. I thought it was interesting and it fit me. And then I went home and I actually checked the label and I realized this is from spring 2008 collection. And here you can see it was a runway item. I'll give you guys an example or two of what I mean by checking the fabric tag. Here's a pair of Gucci wool pants that I got on eBay for, I want to say, $35. Now, you might think, wow, Gucci pants, $35, that's super cheap. They're also very interesting. They have this long zipper, People who know this pair of pants might know that it is from the Tom Ford era. And if you know Gucci, Tom Ford era Gucci is some of the more valuable and some of the more sought after pieces from Gucci's history. So here we have the fabric tag. Obviously it tells you the composition. It's 97% wool and 3% spandex. But on the flip side, this is where things get really interesting. There are many different brands that use this exact kind of tag. I don't know if it's because they're from the same factory or something, but this line this second to bottom line right here tells you a lot about the garment. And usually in here, you'll be able to find the year that the garment was produced or the collection it's from. So for example, this item, because it says '01 right there, is actually from 2001 collection. And if you go back into the into Vogue Runway or something and you look at Gucci collections from 2001, you will be able to see a variation of this exact garment from 2001, which is really, really interesting. I really love doing that kind of like historical dive into clothing. Another great example of this, because this is one of my favorite things, tags tell you just so much about a clothing item, are these Chloe pants that I bought for, I think $6 on The RealReal. I love them so much. They're really, really interesting. And looking at this tag, you think not much of it. On a lot of clothing tags, the way to tell a year is obviously by looking at these numbers. And for Chloe and a few other brands, this first number right here, let me see if I can help you guys out. This first number right here is actually the year. So these Chloe pants, I couldn't actually find them on Vogue Runway, but they are from 2002, and if you know Chloe in 2002, Phoebe Philo was the creative director, and if you know anything about Phoebe Philo, a lot of her stuff is also like Tom Ford era Gucci, very sought after, very valuable, especially her time with Celine. So this pair of pants, which I got for $6, I later checked and I found one that sold on First Dibs for $600. So really great example of how looking at tags can help you identify and, you know, just like further the like historical significance, if that's what you want, of the clothing items that you buy. Just because I think this is really valuable advice, I'm actually going to give you guys a few other examples. So this is a wool coat from Givenchy Couture. If you know Givenchy Couture, it was made in the mid to late 90s until like really early 2000, where usually, especially with this garment tag, either John Galliano or Alexander McQueen were the creative directors. And then if I pull this out from under the garment tag, you might be able to see that it says right here 8 HP. 8 HP means that this was made in the winter of 1998, and fall of 1998, and in the fall of 1998, Alexander McQueen was the creative director of Givenchy, which then adds the historical significance and also the value of this clothing, which I got for, I think, a very, very good deal. Lastly, I'll show you one more tag that's in a really, really good condition. Like I said, this Alexander McQueen cashmere jacket is in great condition, and the fabric tag right here, it is actually the exact same fabric tag that we found on the Gucci pants, and it actually says right there 2003. So those kinds of things can help you easily place either the year of manufacture or the year of the collection that the garments are from. And that is just like really, really exciting. And you can either like go back and try to find the inspiration or the actual piece on the runway. And hopefully as you do more shopping, you'll be able to figure out, you know, what actually has more value than what you're paying for. And if you want, I mean, I don't encourage reselling. I encourage wearing and keeping the clothing. This helps you figure out if you're getting a really, really good deal on the item and if the value is actually higher than what the person is selling at. But I don't encourage that. Buy things for your own wearing. My final tip to you all is just to be patient. Obviously, searching online, you're never going to find exactly what you want. But in some regards, that's kind of like the more interesting thing about shopping secondhand and about shopping online. So if you have looked at collections and you know the exact piece you want and it's from 2007, odds are you're not going to be able to find that. Or if you really like it, maybe other people also have really liked it and it's become like a collector's item and it's worth way more than any of us could afford. To find those really interesting pieces, sometimes you just have to cast a really wide net. You can't always be looking for very, very specific items. And I think, you know, that's really the joy of shopping, at least for me. I know some people really hate shopping, and if you hate shopping, also maybe this isn't the video for you. If you treat shopping like a personal treasure hunt, you're bound to have fun when you find those gems. Also, when you find those unique pieces, I really hope that you'll be able to like treasure them even more. I just find so much joy and excitement from after I'm buying something, learning more about like the inspiration, the techniques for making it, looking at the little stitches, understanding the garment construction and everything about it. It just makes it, you know, a much more personal piece of clothing. And also, buying secondhand and being patient helps you develop a much more curated wardrobe that hopefully will never, you know, go out of style. It'll always be your own personal taste. And that patience also helps so that you don't fall into the trap of designer trends. So that's really all I have for you guys. I really hope this video was like super informative and helpful. This is obviously, you know, not sponsored. There's no one, you know, telling me to do this. I have no links for you to go to except for like, I mean, I guess like the eBay, the real Poshmark, but everyone knows about those anyway. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any other suggestions or if you want to, you know, talk to me more about how to find like incredible deals, let me know. But I really hope that this was helpful. I really hope this is not clickbait, because I genuinely know that you can find runway items, and I know I have, for more than 95% off. In some cases 99% off what they originally retailed for. And as we all know, designer retail is a complete scam. Thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe, comment any suggestions you have, and yeah, that's it. Bye.